Hello out there, everybody. Manny here at Area 503. And I hope you all have been well since our last video. Today I've got some space exploration news to go over with you folks. First, I'd like to cover the recent test of the SpaceX Starship SN9. If you haven't been following the program, this high-altitude test was the most recent in a series of tests performed on the Starship. This whole project has been extremely aggressive and ambitious from the get-go, with SpaceX's motto being, tackle the hard problems first. And with high risk comes high reward. So let's see what happens.
Let's hit the camera here.
So far so good. Up she goes, she's off the ground. And she's going to continue to climb up to about 10,000 feet. The Raptor engines are going to disengage, and the craft is going to stall a little bit and then begin to fall back down to the Earth.
So everything, so 90 seconds into the plane, everything's still nominal according to the
So they shut down the first three Raptor engines as planned. Down the two Raptors now. Control the acceleration of the vehicle as it gets later and later. Everything proceeding nominally at this time.
I had an awful lot of flight.
And the Raptors are going to reignite here.
I know. Oh, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. There.
Uh-oh.
I don't think so.
Okay, now I'm no Werner von Braun.
Dr. Werner von Braun, who is at present the chief of the Guided Missile Division of the Army's Rocket Center at Redstone Arsenal. He was also overall director of the development of the original V-2 rocket.
But I don't think that went down exactly the way that they had planned. So what happened? Well, during the landing burn, something came flying off of the vessel, as we can see here. And for some reason, one of the Raptor engines failed to ignite. You can see only one of them's firing. And one engine just wasn't enough to slow the Starship down. It's just that simple.
So they shut down the first three Raptor engines as planned. Down the two Raptors now. Control the acceleration of the vehicle.
And look at poor SN10 sitting there on the launch pad, right next to where its brother came down. That thing's probably thinking, gee, I hope they can fix that before I go up. But you know, a failure like this is exactly why there are such strict tests on spacecraft, so that something like this doesn't happen when the ship has passengers. But the old adage is always true. You gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet. And SN9 was just another egg in the Starship omelet. Well, thankfully, it didn't take SpaceX long to identify the problem with the SN9 test and to correct it, because only a month later, SN10 went up for its test.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. We got liftoff.
And the SN10 test went according to plan, for the most part. SN10 made it through all of the tests that SN9 made it through. But let's watch the landing here. Oof. Looks like she came down a little hard there. But that's okay, because this test was all about the launch and the soft landing to get real-world data for the scientists at SpaceX. So that's not so much of a problem, nor is this little bit of fire here at the end. Or is it? Just about 5 minutes after the landing, this happened.
Oh God, it just blew up. It just blew up. It just blew up. What?
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, dang it. So there you go. That's the end of SN10. What happened there? Well, according to Elon Musk, one of the engines was low on thrust, and this caused an impact of about 10 meters a second, and that crushed the legs and part of a skirt, which then caused a leak of some kind and the subsequent explosion. He also said that there were multiple fixes in the works for SN11. So this is going to be a huge learning experience for SpaceX. It's not going to be a setback, and I think that's great. Keep up the good work, guys. You're doing an amazing job over there. But it looks like the SN10 is just going to be another egg in the Starship omelet. With that, let's move along to our next piece of news, which is that the Perseverance rover and Ingenuity drone arrived on Mars. In episode 92, I did a live stream of the mission. Let's take a look at a few clips of the stream. So it looks like the landing module is about 8,700 miles away from the planet. Touchdown's in about an hour and 3 minutes. The next phase, it says, is the D-spin in 47 minutes, so that's kind of interesting. The D-spin, it's going to slow its roll, so to speak. There she goes, Perseverance and Ingenuity off to Mars. And, you know, there's some other technologies that they're using that we'll talk about in a little bit that are first of its kind here. Some of the landing technologies that they're implementing are going to be used for the first time on a foreign planet. They have a super large descent parachute that they're going to be testing. This whole mission is it's groundbreaking all the way through, from how it got to the planet to how it's going to land on the planet to what it's going to do when it gets there. You know, this rover is the first NASA mission. It's the first Mars mission to be sent out specifically to look for alien life, and you can understand why that kind of gets me excited. You know, here we are, we're looking for life. If we find life on Mars, well, boy, there's got to be life everywhere. You know, that's all I'm saying. But this little puppy is hopefully going to find it. There's some other technologies that are pretty interesting on this rover too. The one that kind of captivates me is the MOXIE experiment, which is the Mars Oxygen Creation experiment. It's going to take CO2 out of the Martian atmosphere and separate the oxygen and see if that's a viable process to get breathable oxygen for astronauts or for fuel once we get to Mars. So that's kind of interesting if we can just pull it right out of the atmosphere. I'm assuming it's some kind of form of carbon capture technology, but I haven't really dug into the science behind it yet. I just think it's great that they can supply oxygen that's there and use that maybe to get a sort of a terraforming going, or a little greenhouse or something like that, you know. But we'll see what happens. You got to get on the planet first, and that's what we're going to hopefully see today, is this sucker come down in one piece, properly.
We've lost direct to Earth tilt.
Throttle down. Skycam maneuver has started. About 20 meters.
Tango Delta.
Touchdown. He called it. confirm.
We're getting signals from MRO. Remu stable.
UHF is good.
UHF is good.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance.
All right.
Spaceflight.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, guys. All right. They made it.
At this
Ow.
point, the descent stage has flown away to safe distance. Perseverance is continuing to transmit direct
Yeah.
orbiter to Earth.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Oh my god. I'll leave a link to the full stream in the description below so you can go and check that out in case you missed it. It was a blast. Anyhow, let's move along to our next bit of news, which is that the James Webb Space Telescope is finally on the launch schedule for October of this year. I spoke a little bit about the James Webb back in episode 4, way back in the day. And if you've been following the James Webb Telescope project, you know that there's been nothing but setback after setback in getting this thing functional and launching it to space. So I'm really excited to see that it's finally done and ready to go. Now I'm planning a more in-depth video on the James Webb Space Telescope, including a full breakdown of the history of the project, the costs, and what we expect to learn when this telescope becomes operational. So be on the lookout for that video here in the near future if you're interested. What do you guys think about the current state of space exploration? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'm curious what you think. And if you haven't gotten a chance to subscribe to the channel, that button's right down there as well. Alrighty then. I'll catch y'all later.
Rerouter actions as planned. So there's a shutdown the first.
As always, this has been Manny at Area 503. And I wish you all the best until we meet again. And I am out of here to continue my search for universal truth.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.